part 2 of the L10. And when we cut last time, the thought that I lost, which I think is something that is a great segue to open this part 2 up, is the greatest part about an L10 and the cadence and rhythm that you get in my experience is visionary and the leadership team cast vision from top down, right? And so the vision is kind of a top down thing, right? But the business is now run through the issues list from the bottom up. Because every week, every employee has the opportunity to surface the issues, and the issues are what are preventing us from achieving the vision that has been cast.
100%.
So it's vision top down, running the business bottom up.
100%. And it goes directly into Jeff Ruby, who you know Jeff.
Yeah.
He's been on your podcast. And really good friend of mine. He always says that EOS, the concentration gets stronger the further it goes. Where you think the concentration would be strongest at the leadership team.
Yeah.
It's not true. I see it all the time. Department rocks get completed at a higher percentage than the leadership team rocks. Scorecard measurables are usually better on track. And so like it is built from the bottom up of like actually gaining the traction and actually solving issues and actually getting things done and moving the needle.
And I think that's because everybody talks about A players, right? We all want A players on our team. And what A players desire is equal accountability.
Yes.
Because it's very frustrating when you're an A player and you're looking around and you're like, there's not many other A players here, right? But when the teams, regardless of any scale, great team members want accountability.
Yeah.
And when you bring it to everybody, it all ships rise with the tide. Everybody starts embracing it.
100%. So part 1 was all about the actual flow of an L10 and how to take it to a level 10, right? Like how to look at the different perspectives, how to get your arms around it. What does it actually look like running on an L10? Part 2, where we're going today, I would like to dig into more around the structural side of it as the organization goes. So I'm a professional services company. I'm a marketing agency. I run a manufacturing shop. I have an
AV installation company.
Installation company. Like what does it actually look like to have every team in the company running on an L10?
And in all of those scenarios, there are some common challenges. What are the challenges that you see people bring up when they're trying to be like, how do I make this work for our organization?
Yeah.
What are some of those most challenging?
So there's a few things. One is, especially if it's in like a trades, it's field team members.
Yeah.
So HVAC technicians out in the field, electricians out in the field, a sales team that's on the road, that's out in the field. That's one, is like, how do I actually physically do this? So like get this team together. Yeah. Another one is in partner with a methodology. So a software development team that runs on Agile. Like how does that get incorporated with an L10? Like those are a couple that I'll see. Then a little bit broader of an approach is like, how do I do this without feeling like I'm just putting a ton of bureaucracy onto my team and now looking at a number and like saying you're just a number now.
Yeah.
So those are like tech, as far as like an implementation, it's the first two, but then there's like this mentality piece of it too that you need to overcome.
Yeah. I think Jeff Ruby had the line and in one of the Inside the 90 interviews where he said, EOS is caught, not taught. And the language I've heard people say is, how do we push this down? And it's really, how do we pull others in?
100%.
Right? It is not a forced upon you type of thing.
No.
It is a thing to where there's, with a cadence and a rollout in a proper format.
Yes.
You actually do get people, catching it.
100%. That's a great way to say it, is it's caught, not taught. The way I say it all the time is the team will pull it down.
Yeah.
So if you just let them in, they will pull it because they want it. And so they will grab hold and pull it to their team stronger and stronger. So let's just break this apart a little bit. So you're running on EOS. You have, as a leadership team, you have defined your leadership team through the accountability chart. You need to first kind of create a 90-day priority of rocks, and then you're going to start running on level 10 meetings as a team, as your leadership team. My suggestion is that you would do that for an entire quarter before you start rolling out level 10s, because it takes 90 days to kind of get your arms around it, know how to do it. I also say in that 90 days to have each leader at least run one L10 so they know and facilitate, so they can start to get their understanding when they go and start doing it in their team as well.
And what, so I think, there's lots of different ways to have a strategy to roll this out, but your first 90 days, leadership team is working through their cadence, getting the rhythm, right, getting that set. And then we're going to do a quarterly. And we're going to come back and we're going to roll L10s out to the rest of the team. At what point are we introducing EOS to the whole organization, even though we're not pulling in all team members into an L10 yet?
Yeah, and I think this is a bigger topic that I think we need to do a whole nother podcast on, called rollout. Like, what does the actual rollout look like? But so I don't want to go too deep here because I want to keep it about the L10. But what I would say is that there's really two major points before you do this. The first is when you decide to start running on EOS, the leadership team is going to be built, and then they're going to do some work a little bit behind closed doors. Behind closed doors is inappropriate to say, because you will do some work and then you'll tell people and talk about it. But so the first message is really, we're doing EOS, and this is kind of what it is. When we first get kicked off, a little video, a little email, right? We're excited about it. And then once the VTO is built and we've been running on it for a little while, then we do a company meeting where we actually introduce the 5 foundational tools that we have been using and that we have built out. And then coming out of that, typically you'll start seeing these other L10s. And so when you look at how we build them, the foundation of that is the accountability chart. So if a team asks me, and this is my experience too, is like, if you're trying to figure out what L10s to run, you're going to pull up the accountability chart first. What are our functions?
Yes.
And those functions are in our teams, and we should have an L10 for each one of those teams. That's like the purest way to do it, and that's what we want to get to. There's all these intricacies, though. It may be a leader sits in multiple seats, or a team member has 2 seats on 2 different L10s, and how do I navigate that?
Yeah.
Because now I'm going to ask them to have 3 L10s in a week, and does that make sense? And all these kind of nuances start to come in practice. And so that's what we kind of need to open up. And I would say in the beginning, we start with the leadership team is 90 minutes and it's weekly. Don't break from that. Just keep that cadence.
And then I think this is also one of the points of wisdom from an EOS perspective is 10 to 250 employees, because less than 10, there's lots of complications. But 10, 15, 20, you still have that structure where you do have a visionary who may be over sales, a visionary that may be over some form of service delivery or something. So the multiple hats thing does get really challenging the smaller the organization is.
Absolutely.
So, but when you do get a visionary who's in 2 different seats, what's your recommendation on how to manage that? You have a visionary and an integrator, and then a seat reporting into an integrator.
So you're saying the visionary is sitting in the sales seat, and somebody else is sitting in the integrator seat. So like, how does that flow?
As a straw man there, what does that structure begin to look like?
I would look at the accountability chart and say sales is a major function. Does marketing and sales go together? And that size organization, it probably does. Because if the visionary is sitting in the sales, we probably have a couple operational seat that maybe the integrator even sits in an operational seat, just by if the visionary is sitting in one, and then we'll have some like G&A type of a seat. Then I would go down and say, I look at, when I structure L10s, I use the issues list as the thing. So the questions I would ask are, what teams make sense to have an issues list? Like, if you have something to put somewhere and you need a team around it, like, think of the compartmentalization of the issues list as a way to build the structure of the L10. So what I mean by that, if I'm that visionary, I probably have issues that come up that are high level, our vision and where we need to go and overall running of the business. I've put that in the leadership team. Then there's probably more around like, what's our pipeline look like and what's our forecast and what's our messaging. And okay, so then there needs to be one in the sales component of that. Now, who needs to be in that meeting? I would look at the accountability chart first. That should tell me.
Yep.
But practically, who should be in that sales meeting and who should be doing that? Sometimes the integrator needs to be in that meeting, actually. Sometimes they don't. So that's where I would start to uncover that.
And and on that too, a recommendation would be sometimes it's just not perfect, but not perfect doesn't mean it shouldn't exist.
Right.
So that's like make do it for, you're only committing for 90 days. It's like, this is the structure we're going to use for the next 90 days. We've got one discipline, say like we're an agency. Like if you've got one person that's a developer, it's like the issues that they need to solve are not copywriting nor design.
Right.
So it's like, what team do they sit on, right? And so sometimes I think even in a full-scale company, you can have a team that's may not just have its perfect right fit home, and that's okay.
Yes.
I think you either put them on a team and you make sure that their issues, they're collaborating and being heard, or you carve off one and, have a smaller L10 with them.
Yeah. And let me give you some real world examples. Okay. Because I think this will help us understand how to break this down. So electrical contractor, 160 employees. They have a few positions that are estimating or pre-con type of work where they touch multiple teams. So on the accountability chart, they have a home. That is their home team, I call it.
Yep.
That's where their rocks live. That's where their scorecard lives of where they're kind of reporting. That's where they go. However, other teams bring up issues that they're part of the solve for. So that you would run those L10s, but that position may actually bounce between 3 L10s. So they're catching their home L10 every third week.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Same thing with like a manufacturing client. And they have the maintenance team. And their maintenance team has an L10. But the maintenance manager will actually bounce between the production meeting and the maintenance meeting because there's enough maintenance issues that come up that they kind of hold them and then they kind of bounce back and forth. So you can have these kind of key players or key positions that will have a home team, but they bounce back and forth in order to be able to solve those issues.
So the two kind of requirements there are every team has an L10.
Yes.
And every person is in an L10 every week.
Yes.
Those two things can coexist where I'm not in the same L10 every week, but I am in an L10 and a team has an L10.
Yes, okay. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's it. I haven't experienced that, but well, let me rephrase that. I haven't tried that. That would have been a good solve for issues we've hit in the past.
Yeah. That's one way to do it. The other thing I'll look at is when you start to merge them with the operational side, we have to remember that we run on one operating system, okay? So things like Agile for developers this is how we've always done project management, right? We have to be careful with that mentality because we have decided as this organization to run on L10 principles. It doesn't mean we have to throw away principles of Agile. We have to throw away RPM principles. But there needs to be this understanding that we are now using the terminologies of rocks, scorecard measurables, right? And so how do you merge those things together? And there are easy ways to do that. In the past, I ran a data analytics company that we used Agile principles and we ran on EOS. But we still had a level 10 meeting for our developers that still had scorecards, still had rocks, still had an issues list.
Because there again, the intent is working in the business, we're on Agile. Mm-hmm. Working on the business, we're using EOS. Right?
Yes, and I don't even like the separation that much, to be honest. I think that when we do that, we're actually saying we're okay with 2 operating systems.
Okay.
And it's actually more the merge
Yeah.
that is better.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And how you do that.
Yeah.
But as you go down, it is appropriate to say, what's the cadence for that team? Maybe the cadence is 60 minutes and not 90 minutes. Maybe the cadence is every other week instead of weekly. Maybe the cadence, right? So there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of break it down. I'd be careful of going anything longer than every other week, because if you miss one, you miss like 2 months
Correct.
or something.
Yes.
Like it's ridiculous.
In my experience, the biweeklies, one person's out, it's a month. So I try not to do the biweeklies.
Yeah. So
just
weekly
do everything
is
you
better.
can. Just commit to a weekly.
100%. And you're probably doing the biweeklies because you have some other meeting. And like, why do we have these? Like, we could probably merge them together and keep the principles of EOS. And so that's another really successful way. I have teams that do it, where we have a weekly traffic meeting, or we have a weekly project management type of an update. Well, let's just merge the EOS principles in that. And so now we just take that meeting for 45 minutes, we make it 60 or 90, and we get more value out of it, right? And so there's ways to do that as well.
Yeah, and I have seen even the language outside of a pure L10 format, like you have meetings still in business for different reasons that are all logical, that are different than in any L10 doesn't replace. But just the issue solving track along is beneficial to bring in to even those other meetings. Because
100%.
Sometimes, I mean, the idea of the weekly L10 is we're parking that on a list for a week, but we're working on a project right now. We're hitting a wall. This is a project management. It's a project status meeting, right?
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, let's apply those principles. What's the root issue, and digging in, and you'll find that just the discipline itself will actually continue to create things that don't make it to an L10 issues.
100%, 100%. And so that brings up a good point about the issues list again. So the issues list is the thing that I look at of where the team should be and where should we be having L10s. And that is the driver of the level 10 meeting as we start to go outside of the leadership team, because we're asking the team to bring things to the meeting, not just raise flags throughout the week, right? Bring them to it. From a good issues list, a lot of the solves become scorecard measurables. A lot of the solves become a rock for somebody. So really good issues driving is going to enhance both sides of the level 10.
And then what about, so there's everybody's putting our issues on.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say this is not a leadership L10, it's apartment L10, 6 people in it. Everybody's putting their issues on, but one person feels like their issues are just never addressed. So how do you actually level the voices in the room to where the most dominant personality, the loudest voice, isn't the one saying my issues are the ones that we're solving every week?
Yeah. So it's a really good point. I think there's a couple things that you can do there. One is there's team health aspects that leaders should identify and do some team health exercises. And you'll do that as a team when you do the annuals and you do quarterlies. So there's something there. I'd also look at core value fit and GWC of the role. And there just may be some more independent work that needs to be done if that's the case. If that's all good and like all those things are good, but somebody is just more vocal about getting their issues solved than somebody else, right? I think there's a couple of things you can do. One is that take that breath when you get to the issues list and like say, okay, and you can, instead of it just being popcorn and one person goes 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, like say, okay, Jimmy, what do you want to talk about today? Like call out the people that feel like they're a little bit more quiet and make sure that they're brought up.
Yeah.
The other thing is if you use tools like 90.io, they have a little bit of a rating system. So when you put the issue in, you can flag it as a 1 to saying, I would like to talk about this week if we have the available time to do it.
And I think that
so it helps the facilitator not just listen to the loud voice.
And I think it's important for that facilitator to know what hat they're wearing, right?
Yes.
Because if they're facilitating the room for everyone, or facilitating to get their issues pushed to the top,
100%.
like just make sure that you have a good facilitator who understands their role.
Yeah.
and can lead the conversations and not dominate them.
Yes, absolutely. And the other piece of this is the L10 becomes the place to develop the team as well. So mentoring the team and calling those things out. Like, I should have probably started with this. Like, the best advice I would say is that should be an issue.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of trying to solve it in some silo, that actually should be the issue that's brought up on the issues list.
So I think you're hitting this key point and of objectivity, right? It's the issue is an issue.
Yes.
Right. And rarely is even the person an issue. It's like there's an issue that may be a behavior, but like I think I probably err on the non-emotional total lack of empathy when I write an issue, because I'm like, I just want to be like, here's an issue.
Oh, I love
I'm
it.
not judging
I
anyone.
love it.
I'm just observing and saying that's it. So now let's break it down.
That's exactly how it should be, though.
But I do think there's, I would say that's probably a healthy team health thing.
Yeah.
When a team has the gel and the vulnerability and they've got the traction in the process, I think it's easier. But you still get people who are just softer voices and may not want to be that direct.
I agree, which I think there's some of those tricks there.
Yeah.
Well, I say it all the time. Like, if somebody comes to me with that, I'll just say, well, are you going to tell them or am I?
Yeah.
Like, am I going to raise the issue or are you going to raise the issue?
Yeah.
Like, that's the appropriate thing to do, because now we're solving it as a team.
Yep.
And an issue is just an issue. And like, let's just get that there.
I had a rock to listen to Rocket Fuel again for the quarter, just listening to it. And that's the thing is, what's the one question that will end any end runs?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's like someone is bringing you something or going around and it's like, well, are you going to tell them or not?
Yep. 100%.
Very good question.
So now we have these different departments are doing these things. And so there's a few things to keep in mind is issues transitioning from team to team. So what I mean by that is what's really healthy is that when teams can identify issues and you can send issues to different teams, and the leader of that L10 and that team can say, hey, that's a great issue. I actually think that needs to be pulled up a level or down a level. And so at scale, you'll actually be in one L10 up and one L10 down. Mm-hmm. And so there's this natural cascading and up and down and information flow up and down that creates the alignment. And that's where you were talking about how we cast the vision top down, but the organization is run bottom up.
Yeah.
It's because of that structure and that flow that we end up putting in place. Then there's like really tactical things, right? So we think about tactically around, okay, this is all great, but I still don't have my answer questioned about, I have a field team or a team that's a construction team building a house. How do I bring them into this cultural side of things? And you think of the principles of a level 10 meeting, okay? Checking in personally, what's wins. Second thing is like measurables, so scorecards. Rocks are all about priorities, long-term, and then an issues list. That's like the principles, right? So I think about a team that's on a construction site. Like, why would we not have a cadence that the superintendent, the foreman, the PM, whoever it is that has that team, that they check in, they go to that site weekly, and they say, here's the reporting of the project on budget, on time, right? Any safety issues, concerns, right? And you're asking these measurables from the team, and I'm providing them. Okay, how are we on the project overall? Are we on track? Are we off track? That's the rock. And then we have this board on the site where anything that comes up throughout the day, they can go and write the issue on. Hey, I don't know how to request PTO effectively. Hey, this saw is broken and I need, and it took me 2 weeks to get a replacement. How do we speed that up? And then that foreman or whoever it is runs through an IDS just on site with that team.
Yeah.
And so it's the principles that matter, and it's the cultural aspect of it. And rather than get in our head of like, well, I can't sit them down for 90 minutes in the office every week. Like, who cares about that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think, and that everything goes back to vision, traction, healthy, right?
Yes.
Cast the vision, use the system to get traction to create a healthy culture and organization. And no one who desires not to have that, right?
Yeah.
So like I would assume in that situation, like, whether you're a framer on site or whatever that is, knowing that there's a place where things come up and we're working, I have the ability to better the company by surfacing something. And I know actually, someone's going to see it. And if it's important enough right now, we'll address it, but it'll at least get prioritized in consideration with other things.
100%. And in so many teams try to shield their team because they go, well, they'll never buy into this, or they don't want this. They're going to just think I'm putting a measurable on them. And I am just surprised time after time after time where it's the exact opposite is actually occurs. As soon as they start doing it, they're like, I can't believe how much they've bought into this. And they're asking me, and I'm getting accountability back from them that I haven't kept the meeting on time or something like that. And we sell our people short all the time. And like we have great people in our organization, and they're asking for this type of stuff.
And I look just at the massive data of, if there's 300,000 companies now in some form or fashion running on EOS, and we know that they're 10 employees or more, there are millions of people and data points who talk about, if you trust the system and you use it, you cast a good vision, which is everybody wants to know where we're going. We get traction and everybody feels healthy. It's like the data just supports the mission overall.
And the mistake is when you run on EOS in a silo only on the leadership team.
Yep.
Because that actually is when you create bureaucracy.
Yep.
That's actually when you create the poor culture rather than bringing the rest of the team in.
Yeah, and you do get that us and them. And
100%.
There's always if people don't have the facts, they'll make them up. And so if the door's closed and it's this L10 thing every week and we don't know what goes on in there, it's a bunch of mystery, then
100%.
People, they just have their own story.
100%.
What, so we're talking about at scale.
Yeah.
And L10 for leadership. You got L10s for the different departments. Also have the same page meeting, right? That's the visionary integrator meeting. Who's responsible for those?
Okay. For the different meetings?
Yeah.
So
who's responsible for the whole, I should say?
Oh, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Really good question. The integrator is responsible for the execution. So are the L10s being held?
Yeah.
Are the scorecard measurables right? Does everybody have rocks? What's our completion of rocks? Are we getting 90% of the to-dos done each week? Are the teams getting quarterly conversations appropriate, right? The execution side. But there's a piece that misses that time where the visionary is responsible for the actual obsession of the tools. So they're the ones that are responsible to say, hey, the answer is in EOS. The way we run it, we run our businesses off of EOS. That's because a lot of times the visionary is going to hold the culture.
Yeah.
So the culture is EOS.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And at this past EOS annual conference, Gino talked about this concept. And he would say, I had my 12, I forget exactly the number, I'm just going to make it up, but like my 12 numbers I ran the entire business on. I was obsessed with that. And if a number was off, I like dug in. And I wanted to know what the team numbers were looking at, which is a scorecard.
Correct.
Right? So like it's like this obsession from the visionary to say, this is how we do business. But it's the integrator that's really about the execution of those items.
Yeah, and I think that was clarity that you brought to me. I think I'm naturally obsessed with EOS. It caught me, right?
Yeah.
But that, especially at the stage of the organization we're in now, we're a year in, and you're coaching me up, saying, "Hey, you need to be obsessed." I was like, actually, I am obsessed. I'm just not telling people that's my
right.
core responsibility.
Right.
So now the visionary, I gave myself 5 functions. And the first is the vision, obsessive on the vision, obsessive on our core values, obsessive on growth, obsessive on the quality of our product, and obsessive on EOS. Like, those are the things that I'm telling my team, like, that's me.
Yeah.
And I think everybody wants me to be that. You know, they're like, yes, please, you go do that. Get out of all this stuff down here with us.
Right. Which ultimately, if you think about it, I think you've said this. Being obsessed with EOS means you're obsessed with your business.
Yes, exactly. We had that conversation that some people could be like, hey, you're so obsessed with EOS, like, but your business is, something totally different. It's like, no, obsessing on EOS is what allows me to assess on the right things in my business.
It's the same thing.
Same thing. Yes.
EOS is your business.
Yes,
it's
yes,
how you run
yes.
it. It's where everything lies. And that's when you know you're doing it right.
Yeah.
Because you are using the tools the way they were intended to give you this complete control of everything that's happening in the business. And it's really harmonizing the human energy, which is ultimately what we're doing with our business.
And so we're doing L10s, we're rolling them out. We're in the second year of our EOS rollout. At what point are L10s done?
Never. never. These tools are always, I think that's one thing that to be 80% strong or better in all 16 components, the work is never done. You'll get to 85 and then you drop somewhere and then you have to relook at it. And so, but the tools are there to be true tools. It's not something to set up and forget. And so we're constantly looking at the accountability chart. We're constantly looking at the structure of the L10s. We're constantly looking at, right, like all these items that we're constantly moving them to be what's right for us. Yeah, there's a constant change. So I think the really call here is like at the end where it's like, okay, I'm struggling with like how do I get my team around this, and like how do I actually like put this in place? And what I would say is just start doing it. And tell the team that, hey, we're going to run with this for the next 90 days.
90 days. I was going to say start and commit for 90 days.
Yeah. We're going to put this structure, whatever the structure you think is right, we're going to start this structure and we're going to go for 90 days. And then we'll reassess and say, well, this team needs to be here, which we needed to do alongside the accountability chart. Right? If we're making structural changes there, it actually may be accountability structural changes as well.
Yeah. And I think that, one of the tenets of hitting the ceiling is just the whiplash. Like visionary leaders, entrepreneur organizations, it's like, hey, we're everywhere all the time. And that wears on people.
Yeah.
Right. So it is the rhythm of the L10 that actually gives people the trust in the process to where they actually see things happening. And you are committing for 90 days. It's one of the great, we call this inside the 90, right? Like 90 days is the only thing we have to commit to.
Yes.
And what we've done is we've put blocks in place that are like, hey, it may take 90 days to actually figure out what our 10-year target is.
Right.
And you set that 10-year target. You're still reevaluating that 10-year target in 90 days.
Absolutely.
And as you get the mechanics, you realize that, our direction is now clear. It takes time. It takes cycles. I say stamp draft on everything all the time, right? We're looking at this.
Draft, but commit for 90.
Yeah. Draft, commit for 90, reassess.
100%.
Draft. And then, just if you're struggling today with L10s, I would just say, hang in.
Yeah.
Make sure you got the commitment, get the rhythm and the cadence. And
the other thing is reach out to your local implementer. We've seen a lot of L10 rollouts and how we structure them and all of that. And so there's a ton of nuggets of wisdom in your local implementer as well.
And listen to this podcast and episode 1.
Absolutely.
Thank you.